Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Good morning to you, Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Dailies today. I'm Sheriff Quadry.
And I'm Jimi Disu. What a day, Sheriff. What a day. It's a very... What's today's date?
19.
It should be... 18th should be marked in the calendar as a very significant day in the life of this country. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
You know what I'm referring to.
I don't really know.
My itty bed. You know what throughout yesterday, they were saying that I've become a prophet.
Yes.
That I even got somebody called me from Abuja. I could read the tea leaves. It's in, if you've been to NAPES or any of these institutions, or you've been in government for so long, you can read the trail. I can tell you what is likely to happen next. Yes.
Let's start. Let's begin. Lagos, you can watch the show on Facebook and on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3 is how you can watch on Facebook and on YouTube. So, the Vanguard, tension as Tinubu declares state of emergency in Rivers. That story is on page 8. Yeah, there you go.
I think Nigerians should gradually now begin to recognize the president that they have elected. He doesn't take prisoners, and what he wants, he gets. Good morning, everybody. My first worry since President Tinubu became, apart from saying that subsidy is gone just like that, and some of the signs I saw during the campaign, was when it was reported that he was addressing party members in Edo State. And it was reported, not just at that place, but since then, in 1 or 2 or 3 places, he would say, I am the president and the commander-in-chief. In the history of this country, in all the years I've been a full-time journalist. I started my journalism career briefly, let's say in 75, but fully in 81. And since that time, President Tinubu is the only president that I have seen being quoted as saying, I am the president and the commander-in-chief. And that is very significant. It reflects something in the character of the person. Okay, so yesterday, the whole thing came to a climax as I predicted. The president gave a speech. In the speech, almost 98% of the blame was laid at the doorsteps of the governor, forgetting that the governor himself was the duly elected one, and the troublesome person is a minister in his own cabinet. Let's break it down. Let's go by allegedly, or let's say it as it is, because we all know. The president didn't make any reference to the media briefing that was held by his minister, in which this crisis has gone beyond the issue of governor, former governor, and lawmakers. It has become a tribal issue. He kept saying the governor did this and the governor didn't do that. He didn't even make a veiled reference to say that, external influence, even if he didn't do it by name. Nothing at all. Meanwhile, the crisis got heightened. The crisis got to its height when the gentleman had a media briefing. And I see this as being unfortunate because it is extremely difficult, unless you want to deceive yourself, it is extremely difficult for you to say or to believe that the president didn't have a hand in this. I'm not saying he had a hand, but it's difficult for me to believe that he had a hand in this. Meanwhile, Vice Admiral Ibas has been appointed as the administrator. Is a retired Vice Admiral. As far as rankings go, I think he is more than fit for the job. Let us dissect these things one by one. He is more than fit for the job as long as there is nothing sinister behind his appointment. Already on in the social media, photographs of the gentleman with Wiki have surfaced. But let me quickly add that these photographs have been in both official capacities, as in when Wiki was governor and when the admiral was, I think, head of the Navy. So it's difficult for you to say it could be beyond that. But that is at the back of the mind of many people. Okay. Fubara has been suspended. I think that most likely Fubara will not be able to take a drive around town for the better part of the 6 months. He will be kept in a safe place for his own safety. That's the euphemism for mild arrest. He will not be allowed to drive everywhere, and he might not be a total free man. And the lawmakers will be left. They'll be doing whatever they like. They're still the lawmakers. One question I'd like to ask G.T. Ogunye when I call him at 9 o'clock, in case he's listening, is a question I'm going to ask him. One, when you say the governor has been suspended, is it suspended completely? He's no longer governor, or he's still a governor but can no longer act as governor? That's a very significant. You ask yourself, does Fubara, for example, does he still have immunity as he is? Because he's duly elected and he hasn't been impeached.
Right.
So is it that, you are still the governor, you're okay, but step aside, we want somebody to do this job, then you go back? Or for now, he is temporarily not a governor? That constitutional thing, I will get we are going to cancel the Ebumi today. In the time of crisis, there's no time to faff around. We will be looking at the Rivers crisis. And the Vanguard says that Rivers joins Plateau, Ekiti, Borno, Yobe, Adamawa as emergency rule states. Now, South leaders, expectedly, and Pandef have fled the emergency rule. Explosions rock Trans-Niger pipeline. The president made reference to the explosion, but I wish he had told us who was behind that, because there has been history in which sometimes these things are done by even those to create that crisis. It's a well-known. If you're in the social media, we are getting various things now about what happened in 9/11, what happened in Iraq. So there's a history where even the government sometimes. I'm not saying that in this case, but is a question that has to be asked. Who were the ones who blew the pipeline? Surely the security forces should be able to tell us who they were. All said and done, my own impression is that it's not good for the country, it's not good for the state, and it's not good for the president. I think this thing might backfire on him. I think if care is not taken, it could be a self-inflicted injury. That apart, it also points to a very dangerous trend. When retired Chief Bode George was here, he's a retired, I think he wasn't a rear admiral, I think it was a commodore. When he was here yesterday, I asked him a question very gently. I don't know if Sheriff caught his eye. His eyes lit up. I said, sir, as we move towards 2027, being experienced, do you think that the president we have now will quickly concede victory, concede defeat in case he loses the election? It took a while before he could answer. And all these things begin to add up, and we should prepare our minds that we have a very strong man, or a man who believes he is strong, because the strength will only be determined after it has been tested. After it has been tested. Lawyers have said that a lot of lawyers have said they don't think that the president should have gone the way he went. We have a lawyer also coming in at 9 to look at that. It says, the story says here, lawyers Atiku, George, others false declaration. Any Kwomehi, a legal practitioner, he commended the president for the move and he described it as a bold move. However, he urged the president not to spare Wike for allegedly sponsoring the crisis. The question is the president going to keep Wike in his cabinet? Is Wike going to continue to be his favored son, completely out of the control of everybody? Somebody sent me a rhetorical message on my phone. A well-known personality, because I don't have his permission, I would have loved to mention his name. Oh, okay, it's even a tweet. So I can read the tweet. It's Atado Peter side. He says, on the River State crisis, Sheriff, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
On the River State crisis, what if a manipulative subordinate has successfully tied the president's hands? Would that explain the numerous missteps? It's from Atado Peter side, and he's somebody we do respect a lot. And I want you to look at the hidden meaning behind that. What if a manipulative subordinate has successfully tied the president's hand? Would that explain the various missteps? Is our president being blackmailed? There's so many questions that need to be asked, because the kind of power that the gentleman showed when he went to his went for what would be an ordinary reception with the kind of security cover that he had, which really was a show of strength and bravado, then there's more than meets the eye in the case of this gentleman. And it was outside the jurisdiction of the FCT. Okay? So, again, we have another one here. Another lawyer, Evan Sufeli, said that the political tension and crisis in Rivers State has reached a state of clear and present danger, which represents the ground under which a state of emergency must be declared. By this time of reference, Tinubu has rightly declared a state of emergency. The action is, however, not completed. The president has published the same in the Gazette and transmitted it to the National Assembly. The National Assembly must, within 2 days, act on the same by giving its concurrence to it before the process can become valid in the eyes of the law. Some people say, why didn't the president send to the National Assembly, get the approval before declaring it? Which other lawyer here? Chief Body Judge says that it's uncalled for, and he faulted the president's declaration, urging him to rescind it. He said, I am shocked. This has never happened in this country, and there is a procedure where the Supreme Court has made a pronouncement on how a state of emergency can be declared. This is Armageddon, and I urge the president to rescind his decision, because this is totally uncalled for. What other record? A senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Ebun Adeboruwa, he believes that it's a script and that it was premeditated. He said it is uncalled for. There is no basis for the declaration of a state of emergency, because some issues have already been resolved by the Supreme Court, while others are being looked into. Looking at the facts, the state of emergency is premeditated and part of a script. And it goes to say, in Osun State, there is crisis all over local government issues and no state of emergency has been declared. The same thing in Benue State, where there is crisis between the executive and the judiciary. No state of emergency has been declared. In Lagos State, where you had 2 speakers, no state of emergency had been declared. Well, my argument on this would be that what exacerbated this crisis, actually, apart from all other technicalities, is Nyesom Wike's 2-hour media interview. That's what happened, I think, the crisis, and moved it out of the political realm to the tribal realm, which won't go away. It won't go away just by the state of emergency. So there's a lot of work to be done. Another lawyer, Kunle Edun, SAN, says that Tinubu lacks the power to suspend Fubara, deputy, and others. So essentially, that's we don't want to go through all the papers and spend the whole morning talking about that, but that's what we have. And also, Abubakar Atiku has also faulted the state of emergency. But my mind is in line with what Adegboru has said. This is all a script. I had, by the way, I won a bet. I predicted that this time next week, he won't be here. What is you have forgotten?
Yes, you did. But I'd like to know, though. I'd like to know whether you think there's a reason, a justifiable reason for declaring a state of emergency. I've heard everything that you've read, but concretely looking at what is happening in Rivers, and perhaps the assumption of the president, I'm using the word very carefully, is that perhaps if he didn't declare it now, things may jolly well just go out of control any moment. And looking at that region, everything can scatter in 2 seconds.
Well, I think what makes this complex is the Nyesom Wiko factor, which seems to be aided by the president. Had the president been apolitical, had he shown to certain persons some element of fairness in handling the situation, there might have been a slight justification for it. But what is all this issue about? Is about Wike not wanting to let go at the end of the day. And the president could have put him under control. He could have been more practical about it. You summoned the elders. You kept telling them to talk to the governor, You didn't talk to your own man. Is Wike above the president? Or like Atedo Peter said, is hinting? Is there more to this thing that meets the eye? And I'm sure that even some APC members themselves will begin to see some of these things as something the president can do without. Is this going to guarantee him victory in Rivers State? I don't think so. I don't think this is going to... The state now, as we speak, is divided. You understand what I'm saying? It's divided. And the judges that form a majority and spread all over Bayelsa, all over Niger Delta, they might be wanting to punish somebody.
Including the Southwest, as a matter.
Including the Southwest, they might be wanting to punish somebody for the pain he has brought on them, which is completely unnecessary. You've been governor for 8 years, for God's sake. If you put Fubara there and unfortunately he's not doing your bidding, do leave him alone. But that hasn't happened. And what has happened has been, not only has it been completely disappointing, it's been frightening.
Do you consider this declaration a blunder?
It's a big blunder. It's a big blunder. Because I believe that if the president had wanted to weigh in, all he has to do is to call Wike to order, and Wike calls his boys to order, and they say, look, let's have a truce. Let them... After all, the governor made an attempt, as it were, some kind of attempt to present the budget. The guys were not there. They locked him out. As far as I'm concerned, I am inclined to believe, to align myself with what Adegboru has said, that we are looking at a written script. The other alignment I might want to do is to think along the way Atedo Peter side. He's hinting that is somebody tying the hands of the president. You know, America has a problem, for example. What is not being said in America is, does Putin have something on Trump?
On Trump.
The same might be applying here. It's something worth looking at. The question is, who will do that?
Good question. Let's go take a look at our next story.
Do we have a next story?
Well, Wike is in the next story.
Is in the next one again.
Yes. Wike revokes land housing PDP's new National Secretariat complex.
Wike is right in this one. I like to be fair. Whatever I might think of the gentleman, he's right in this one. So what has happened, Sheriff? The PDP were allocated this land. Okay. According to the letter sent to them, the land is being revoked. The right to the land is being revoked. Let me quote the letter written to them. The revocation is in view of your continued contravention of the terms and conditions of the grant of the right of occupancy by failing to pay the annual ground rent due on the property for 20 years. In fact, it should have been rescinded long time ago. From 2006 that the land was allocated to them till now, because they thought that they were the president, they were the party. And so I commend Wike for being brave enough to do this.
Yeah.
He's right in this one. And this is what the president said about him. That he knows how to do the job when the job needs to be done. So what the PDP are saying is an attempt to silence opposition. No, sir. As a party, you ruled this country. You want to come back and rule this country. You can't meet a simple obligation of paying your ground rent for 20 years.
But you can collect hundreds of millions in nomination form or whatever.
Yes. And apart from that, your own government will now start going after other citizens. If tomorrow there is a PDP president, you'll be hounding citizens who have not paid for 2 years. You have not paid for 20 years. In fact, what I expect Wike to do after this is also to send them a bill. There should be something they have to pay for contravention of the whatever. The PDP says that according to their publicity secretary, is aimed at as stifling opposition in this country, and of course a drive towards totalitarian. No, sir, that doesn't apply in this case. This is a self-inflicted injury. We expect those who want to rule this country to start by setting the right example. What the PDP needs to do now is quickly go to where the APC headquarters is, give somebody money, and find out if the APC too has paid the ground rent. And if Wike hasn't revoked it. But knowing him, because Wike is smart, knowing him, if they haven't paid, he will organize for the money quickly and pay for them. And pay for them. So PDP, I'm highly disappointed at this. It is reported that you collected so much money. You raised 62 billion from fundraising activities for these premises.
Ooh.
Ordinary ground there, son. You raised 62 billion of that time's money. Not is BT before Tinubu. Because 62 billion BT is about 620 billion 80 after Tinubu.
How did you come up with all this?
No, they said that BC, before Christ. So BT 20 years ago, Sheriff, these people raised 62 billion.
That's a lot of money.
That 62 billion today is almost 62 trillion.
That's a lot of money.
You know?
That's a lot of money.
And it was highly irresponsible. You see, that's why our problem doesn't lie with one party. It lies with the political system. There's a lot of irresponsibility making the round. You've had chairman and secretary, legal advisor, youth leader. One time your youth leader was 60 years old. You've had all that, and ordinary ground rent. And it must have been showing up in their books. So how do you have the confidence to give this party the responsibility to run the country? So you see, we have a bigger problem. And in the last 20 years, when they were also in government, I'm sure they were hounding other people and seizing land for this whatever it is not being paid. So I think Wike is right. So it's 1-1 now. Okay, it's right to this one.
All right, let's go take this editorial. Calls on NCC to block porn sites.
Yes, I mean, let's face it. I've had an argument, and somebody was telling me that I was telling the person that, look, Sheriff and I, usually when we read the news, we see all kinds of things, sleeping with babies, all kinds of funny news, and that I believe that we need to put a hold on the porn sites that we have in the Nigeria has gone completely mad. Not foreign porn sites, Nigerian porn sites. Women, old, young, and no country is going to, if you don't have discipline, no country is going to grow. If you don't, I think in Dubai, let me remember, even YouTube you cannot get. I think so. Either YouTube or TikTok. I remember one of them. No, okay, you can't get YouTube or something like that. There's some level of discipline and see how far they've gone. Porn has become the biggest business in Nigeria because apart from those who upload to the foreign sites, Nigerians too have developed their own site. In fact, we have a porn star.
We do?
Yes, we have a porn star. A big porn star in Nigeria. Why are you looking at me with surprise?
I'm surprised.
What do you mean you're surprised? You're a journalist. You're supposed to be flexible. I didn't say I didn't.
That's what we call it. I mean,
don't make me. You're making me do. No, you must be an all-rounder in these things. And the Vanguard says we are fully on the same page with the call by House of Reps on the need to block all porn sites because of the damage porn is wreaking on our society. The Vanguard argues that porn brings sexual intimacy, an act culturally designed to be consummated behind closed doors. They are supposed to be doing this thing behind closed doors. To look at it is accessible to all, including minors. Because everybody that holds a phone and has a data can access porn sites. That is dangerous for our children. The dehumanization involved in porn is such that every barrier of indecency has been broken. You don't want to know the kind of... That's why, Sheriff, you see even teachers, assaulting children, all kinds of things. And says that every barrier of it has been broken, thus reducing human beings, especially women, to creatures less respectable than animals, which usually live according to the law of nature. Porn encourages the gullible to experiment with sexual practices which damage the real-life intimacy that promotes lifelong bonds between couples. The reason for couples coming together has been thrown out of the window. Now, it is all for experimentation. And if you hear, that's why sometimes if you hear some of our content creators, women, especially the one that hurts me the most are women. Men, but women, who should be respected, saying certain things. In all honesty, it's a thing of pain. Grown-ups. There's one woman that she's in her 60s. From a reputable family, as a content creator, whatever, the kind of things that he talks about, and how does our society develop with that kind? The focus of a lot of our young people now, some of them spend the whole day, they become addicted. Things that will development they will not relate to. Anyway, enough of the sentiments. Let's get down to reality. We have to go. Yes. When I was just 1 minute, you was not killing again.
We have to go. We must go.
Okay.
Lagos, that is our show. Thank you for tuning in. Well, he's back at 9. We'll continue the conversation on Rivers at 9 o'clock. Stay here. Kofi is back on the Morning Crossfire. Good morning to you.
Leverage on our broadcast 24/7
for rich conversation, great talk, and current affairs.
Real, recognize real.
Nigeria Info. Let's talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.